Hi, it's Ken from Skynet. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion of the Cogent DataHub version 11 security model, and the focus is on practicing how to import accounts so that we can actually log in with a Windows local machine credential or an LDAP credential. User accounts can be imported from the local Windows machine that's running the DataHub, as well as from an external LDAP server. Both the local Windows and the LDAP imported accounts use a password authority of Windows, not DataHub. So DataHub is not involved in the authentication. The Windows subsystem handles that instead. The DataHub administrator cannot change the password for this type of account. The scenario that we're going to use is to enable users to log in with their Windows account, again, whether it's from a local Windows machine account that is running DataHub or the LDAP server. So really what we need to do here is simply start up the DataHub, configure security, and we're going to add or import two different accounts. I'll import my own Windows local machine credential, and I'll start with that. So add Windows local machine. And again, this is going to come from the machine on which DataHub is running. Right now, my account is this one. We can see here that the account that I use to log into Windows is Ken, and this is running on this actual machine. And this is the same machine that DataHub is running on. And so this is the only one that is listed in this dropdown. And in this particular case, for the sake of illustration, I'm not going to use TOTP. We'll simply use basic connectivity and a couple other rules that we'll come back to. But before we configure that, I'm also going to import from an LDAP domain. And the way in which that I connect to our LDAP server is via that domain there, adserver.snt.com. We use SSL over port 636. My LDAP account to provide access to that LDAP server is K Collins, and I'm just going to grab my password and put that in there. And I'm going to confirm that I, as an administrator of that LDAP server, have access to see all of the other credentials on our LDAP server account. And there they are. And so I can see I've got a whole list of accounts here. For the sake of illustration, I'm going to just choose to add a couple of our other employees here, Vula and Paul Thomas. And I'm just in passing noticing that I have the ability here to save the connection properties and query parameters. So that just saves me the effort of having to rekey a domain, a port, and a username next time. The password is not cache, but the rest of the information is. So I'm going to hit OK. And I can see that two accounts were successfully created in the UI. And there is the P. Thomas and the Vula Dionisio accounts added. I won't bother configuring permissions for these because I'm actually going to test only this one. So I'm going to give the Ken account access, for example, to remote config and to web view, and I'll hit apply on all that and confirm that the Ken account has access to those pieces of software. So once the accounts have been imported into the DataHub, they can be configured normally using principals, roles, and permissions the way we would any other account. The difference being that for these accounts, you'll notice that the authentication is being outsourced, or if you will, managed by Windows. That's the authority. And so these accounts cannot or do not specify a password. There's no opportunity for the DataHub administrator to set that password or even see that it is set. Authentication is handled by the Windows subsystem. So I should now be able to, for example, try logging in using WebView. So I'm going to start our WebView application. And the username is going to be Ken. This is my Windows credential, and I'm going to use my Windows password, and I can see that I have been authenticated by the Windows subsystem and granted access to the WebView application. So in this video, we were able to see how to import accounts from the local Windows machine, as well as from an LDAP server, and how we can then configure those using the normal approach, working with principals and roles. And then when we attempt to log in to applications like WebView or Remote Config, authentication is actually outsourced to Windows as the authenticating authority. Thanks for watching.